The night was silent, but not on Earth. Deep under the ground, in a hidden military base, thousands of men and women moved quickly, their faces tight with fear and excitement. A single project was about to be tested, a weapon that had never been fired before. For months, people only whispered about it, calling it impossible, calling it madness. But the commanders had another name for it, the human Ra, above them, in the sky. Dozens of alien ships floated in orbit, their lights blinking like cruel stars. They had arrived not long ago, their voices filling every broadcast, their demands echoing across every city. The aliens told humanity to kneel. They said Earth was nothing but a weak world, a planet that had no place in the galaxy. They promised destruction if humans dared resist. Many nations surrendered out of fear, but not all. Some humans refused. Now, in the deepest part of that base, soldiers gathered around a massive chamber. The weapon looked like nothing ordinary. It was not a missile. It was not a laser. It was a gigantic rail of steel and magnets, stretching longer than a city street, powered by reactors that hummed with deadly energy. The engineers whispered that when it fired, the shot would move so fast it could tear through anything. Alien shield could survive it. The air in the chamber was thick. Lights flashed red, warnings sounded, power levels rising. 90%. 95%. The voice of a technician cracked as she spoke. Everyone knew this could end in disaster. The railgun had never been tested. Not even once. If it failed, it could explode, tearing the base apart, killing everyone inside. But the order had already been given. Humanity had only one chance to show the galaxy that Earth was not weak. High above, in orbit, alien commanders watched. With calm arrogance, their ships were massive, built with centuries of technology. To them, Earth's weapons were toys. They mocked the humans, broadcasting across channels, calling them children playing with fire. But then, their sensors caught something strange. A huge energy spike under the Earth's crust. It was not a missile launch. It was not a nuclear reactor. It was something else. Something dangerous. Inside the base, the countdown began. 10-9. The soldiers stood frozen, hearts pounding. 7, 5. Engineers stared at their screens, sweat dripping from their foreheads. 4, 3, 2, 1. A blinding flash of light ripped through the chamber. The sound was like thunder trapped underground. The rail shook with unimaginable force. And then, in an instant, the projectile was gone. It flew upward at incredible speed, faster than any human eye could follow. The ground itself trembled as the weapon screamed its defiance into the sky in orbit. An alien battleship hovered above Africa, its shields glowing with calm strength. Inside, alien officers laughed as they watched Earth's last attempt to resist. But then, alarms erupted. A bright dot appeared on their screens, moving faster than anything they had ever recorded. One shouted, "Impossible. Nothing moves this fast." Another yelled, "Shields up now." But it was too late. The projectile tore through the shield, like paper, smashing straight into the core of the alien ship. For a second, there was silence. And then an explosion, brighter than the sun, lit up the sky. The alien warship split apart, fire and metal scattering across orbit. Every ship nearby turned their sensors to the Earth, stunned. The entire galaxy watched. Broadcasts were captured, signals transmitted to distant colonies, even to empires. Far away, for the first time, aliens saw something they had never expected fear. Humanity, the so-called weak race, had just destroyed a warship with a single strike, back in the underground base. The soldiers erupted in cheers, their voices shaking the steel walls. Tears filled the eyes of men and women who had prepared to die. They had done it. They had struck back. The commander, an old man with gray hair and a hard stare, only whispered one sentence: "Let them know Earth is not prey." But above, in orbit, silence grew heavy. Dozens of alien ships hovered, their weapons ready, their commanders no longer laughing. They had seen what the humans could do. And now they wondered, was this only the beginning? Did Earth have more of these weapons? Or was it just one desperate strike? Fear spread among them, though they would never admit it. Across the stars and hidden halls of alien councils, whispers began to rise. The humans had done the impossible. They had built something even advanced empires never dared to try, a railgun, large enough to punch through a shield. A weapon that ignored the rules of war, and now every alien eye in the galaxy was fixed. On Earth, the humans had fired their first shot, but was it their last? Or had humanity just revealed the opening move in a war no one expected them to win? The night sky above Earth glowed with the burning remains of the destroyed warship. Children in cities pointed upward, shouting in amazement. Families cried in relief, hugging one another. For the first time in weeks, hope returned to their hearts. But deep inside, the soldiers knew the truth. The aliens would not retreat so icily. This was only the beginning, and the galaxy was watching. The wreckage of the alien battleship still burned in the sky. Pieces of twisted metal fell through the atmosphere, glowing red like falling stars. On Earth, people pointed to the heavens. In shock and wonder, they could not believe it. A single strike, one impossible shot. The mighty invaders were not untouchable anymore. But inside the underground base, there was no celebration, not for long. The commander stood stiff, his face pale under the dim lights. Around him, officers whispered nervously, their hands moving over consoles, their voices trembling. The weapon worked, one engineer said, but it was only one shot. The commander nodded slowly. Everyone in that room knew the truth. Railgun had drained everything: the reactors, the backup power, even the emergency reserves. To fire again, they would need days, maybe weeks. And the aliens would not give them that time. In orbit, the alien fleet gathered. The destruction of their battleship had shocked them, but not broken them. Dozens of ships now turned their guns toward Earth. A storm of fire could rain down at any moment. The death of their warship had shaken their pride. Their commanders argued over the coms. One alien, tall and armored in silver, slammed his clawed hand on the console. His voice was cold. The humans have shown a hidden weapon. But such a weapon cannot be many. It is a trick, a bluff. We will crush them now and end this farce. Another alien, older and wiser, hissed in reply. Do not rush. You saw what that strike did. You saw how fast it moved. If they have more, you risk losing everything. Do you wish to be the fool who underestimates them again? The fleet fell into silence. The galaxy was listening. Other species, other empires, had picked up the broadcast. Already, messages raced across the stars. Whispers spread like fire. The humans destroyed a shielded battleship in one shot. No empire had ever done that. Back on Earth, ordinary people celebrated, but fear sat beneath the joy. Families gathered around screens, watching the news repeat. The same words, humanity has struck back. Children shouted in the streets. Some cities even lit fireworks. But mothers and fathers looked at the sky with worried eyes. They knew the war was not over. It had only grown darker. In the base, the soldiers were ordered to prepare defenses. Anti-air systems activated. Missile silos opened. Fighter jets scrambled. But all of them knew the real power was gone. The railgun could not fire again tonight. If the aliens attacked now, Earth was defenseless. The commander looked at his men and women, his voice heavy but calm. The galaxy's watching us now. If they believe we have more of these weapons, they will fear us. If they know we are empty, they will destroy us tonight. Our task is simple. We must make them believe. The soldiers exchanged glances. Understood. Humanity could not win with strength alone. They had to win with illusion, with fear. In orbit, the alien fleet remained still. They watched the planet carefully. Strange signals now erupted from the surface radio bursts, coded transmissions, false energy readings. To the aliens, it looked like multiple railguns powering up across the globe. Their sensors lit up with warning signs. Multiple anomalies detected. One alien officer shouted. Energy spikes in North America. In Europe, in Asia, they have more. Panic rippled through the alien bridge. The commander growled, his eyes glowing. They cannot have built so many. It is impossible. Doubt had already taken root. The humans had shown the galaxy something terrifying of predictability. Where other species followed rules, calculations, and limits, humans leapt into madness. Who else would build a weapon so unstable, so dangerous, and then actually fire it? The alien fleet began to move backward, pulling away from Earth, not retreating. Fully, but keeping distance. The humans had bought themselves time. Inside the base, cheers rose again. But the commander did not smile. He stared at the screen, his voice low. They will not stay back forever. They will study us. They will send spies. They will search until they know the truth. And when they know, they will return. Silence filled the room. Every soldier understood tonight. Earth had scared the galaxy. But fear fades. Soon, the aliens would come again, and they would not make the same mistake twice. Far away, in alien councils, leaders debated in shadowed halls. Some argued for war, others for caution. Few even whispered of diplomacy. But one truth echoed. Across the stars, humanity had entered the stage. The weak planet was no longer invisible. It had a voice now, dangerous voice, and in every alien mind one terrifying question grew stronger. If this was the first human strike, what would the second look like? The sky above Earth was quiet, but the silence was not peace. The alien fleet had pulled back, their ships glowing faintly as they drifted farther away. They had not fired. They had not retreated. They were simply watching, waiting. Inside the underground base, tension pressed down like heavy air. The soldiers worked restlessly. Engineers hurried across the chambers, checking broken wires, cooling overheated cores, patching systems that had nearly collapsed during the first strike. The Railgun chamber smelled of burnt metal and ozone. As if the Earth itself had been scorched from inside, the commander stood at the edge of the control room, eyes locked on the large screen that showed Earth's orbit. Alien ships glimmered like predators circling their prey. He knew they were not gone. They were thinking, testing, preparing. "They are afraid," whispered one officer. The commander shook his head. "No, they are curious. Fear never lasts. They will return, and next time they will come prepared." Still, the news spread across Earth like wildfire. Humanity had not only survived but struck back. For the first time, people in distant countries spoke with unity. Messages flooded the networks. We are not weak. We're not prey. We are human. In hidden corners of cities, young men and women whispered with new hope. Soldiers volunteered in numbers greater than before. Factories began working day and night, building defenses, missiles, drones, anything that could fight. Across the oceans, nations that once stood apart now shared their secrets, their technologies, their scientists. The first railgun shot had not just destroyed an alien ship, had woken something deep in the human spirit. But the railgun itself was broken. The projectile had moved so fast, the rails had bent, the power lines had burned.
Ouch.
To fire again would take weeks of repair, and the aliens would never give them weeks. That night, in the control chamber, the commander met with his closest officers. A single dim lamp lit the table. Faces were tired, shadows under their eyes, but their voices carried strength. "They will not attack directly," one officer said. "Not yet. They fear another strike, but they will test us," another added. "They will send scouts. They will probe our defenses. And once they learn the truth that we cannot fire again, they will strike with all their strength." The commander's hands curled into fists. "Then we must give them nothing. No weakness, no truth. If they send scouts, we silence them. If they send spies, we hunt them. Earth must remain a mystery." And so the game began. High in orbit, small alien crafts detached from the larger ships. They moved silently like shadows, scanning the surface of Earth. Some carried cameras, some carried probes, and some carried living spies. Their goal was simple: find the other railguns. But humanity was watching. Satellites hidden in the skies caught their movements. Fighters scrambled in secret, chasing them like wolves in the night. In the mountains, radar stations tracked every alien drone, and one by one, the scouts began to vanish. In the deserts of Africa, a small alien probe landed, sending out silent signals. Before it could transmit, soldiers buried it under fire. In the forests of Europe, a shadowy alien scout was spotted moving between trees, its silver body blending into the night. A team of snipers ended it before it reached its target. The aliens grew frustrated. Every probe, every scout disappeared, and in their silence, fear grew deeper. On alien channels, arguments broke out. "They are hiding more weapons," one commander hissed. "Why else would they destroy every scout?" "They are stalling," another said, suspicion in his voice. "Perhaps their railgun needs time. Perhaps they cannot fire again." Or perhaps the oldest one whispered, "They are more dangerous than we ever imagined." Meanwhile, the galaxy continued to watch. Across distant stars, in empires far older than Earth, alien leaders gathered in secret councils. Some laughed, dismissing humans as reckless children with one lucky shot. But others frowned. They saw something different. Humanity's strength was not only the railgun, was the way the entire species had risen after the strike, united, defiant, burning with hope on Earth. However, the truth pressed down on the commanders. Supplies were running low. The railgun was still broken. Now the aliens would not wait forever. One night, the commander stood alone in the chamber, staring at the cracked steel of the railgun. He whispered to himself, "We fired one shot, and the galaxy trembles. But if they learn the truth that we cannot fire again, we will be ashes." His words echoed in the silent chamber. He knew the time was short. Humanity had to repair. Humanity had to grow stronger. Or humanity had to bluff so well that the galaxy itself would believe Earth was untouchable. Outside, the stars shone bright, cold, and distant. The alien fleet remained above, silent predators in the dark, waiting, watching, and every human heart on Earth beat with the same question. Would the next sound from the sky be victory or at the end of everything? The days passed, but the silence in orbit grew heavier. The alien fleet no longer sent scouts. No more probes, no more whispers in the night. They simply hung above Earth like watchful eyes. The world below held its breath. In cities, people tried to return to normal life, but fear still clung to every shadow. Markets opened, children laughed in the streets, but everyone kept looking at the sky. No one trusted the silence. Every night, news broadcasts repeated the same question. When will they strike again? In the underground base, the commander and his officers worked without rest. The railgun chamber echoed with the sound of hammers, sparks, and engines. Engineers crawled across the massive weapon, replacing rails, rebuilding broken circuits, cooling down reactors that still steamed with heat. Every hour mattered. But even as repairs continued, another fear grew. The aliens might not wait for Earth to finish. If they attacked now, everything would end. One night during a briefing, an officer reported grimly, "Supplies are running low. Power cells are nearly spent. We cannot finish repairs in time." The commander's jaw tightened. He knew the truth. If Earth relied only on the railgun, humanity was doomed. One weapon could not protect an entire planet. They needed something more, something faster, something the aliens could not predict. An idea began to form. Risky, dangerous, perhaps even suicidal. But it was the only chance. "We cannot wait for them to strike," the commander said. His voice was low, but every soldier in the chamber leaned forward to listen. "We must strike first. Not with the railgun, not with missiles, with something they will never expect." The room fell silent. "What do you mean, sir?" one soldier asked carefully. The commander's eyes burned with resolve. "We take the fight to them." Shock rippled through the chamber. For weeks, humanity had hidden, defended, waited. Now the commander spoke of offensive going into orbit into the jaws of the fleet itself. It sounded like madness. But sometimes madness was the only weapon humans had. Within hours, plans formed. Old space shuttles were pulled from museums and hidden hangars. Satellites were repurposed into makeshift weapons. Civilian rockets, once built to carry science. Experiments were modified with explosives. Humanity was not ready for space war. But desperation turned every scrap of technology into a weapon. They called it Operation Stone Thrower. The goal was not to destroy the alien fleet. That was impossible. The goal was to show the galaxy one more impossible act. To make aliens believe Earth was not afraid to fight in the stars themselves, the night of the launch arrived. Hidden in the desert, rockets stood tall, their bodies trembling with fuel. Soldiers and engineers worked side by side, faces pale with fear, but lit with determination. The world watched through secret broadcasts, though no official word was given. The public, it was silence. But to those who knew, this was history in the making. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. The air grew heavy. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 3, 3, 1. The rockets roared into the sky, flames cutting through the dark. Dust and smoke swallowed the desert as the ground shook with fire. Higher and higher they climbed, carrying humans and their fragile weapons toward orbit. The alien fleet stirred. Their sensors picked up the launches instantly. Officers barked orders. Alarms echoed across their ships. The humans are coming. Up. They dare challenge us in space. Confusion filled the alien bridges. To them, this was unthinkable. A species so new, so unprepared, daring to enter the battlefield of the stars? Madness. And yet the rockets kept rising in orbit. Explosions lit the dark. Alien interceptors rushed forward, beams of light streaking across the void. Human shuttles twisted and turned, their shields weak, their weapons primitive. Fought. They launched improvised missiles, fired rail-shot projectiles smaller than the great gun below, even rammed alien scouts with suicidal bravery. One shuttle exploded in a flash of white, taking an alien craft with it. Another spiraled out of control, its crew screaming as they plunged toward the Earth. But others pressed forward, undaunted. For every human ship destroyed, another rose behind it. On Earth, people watched in silence. The broadcast signals leaked. Across the world, despite the government's attempt to hide them, families sat in front of glowing screens, watching their brothers, sisters, fathers, and mothers fight above the sky. Tears streamed down faces, but pride burned stronger than grief. Humanity was no longer only defending. Humanity was attacking. In alien councils across the galaxy, leaders leaned closer to their screens. This was not what they expected. Humans should have been broken, hiding, begging for mercy. Instead, they were throwing themselves into the stars with fire in their hands and madness in their eyes. The aliens began to argue once more. Were humans too dangerous to be allowed to survive? Or were they too valuable, too unpredictable, to be destroyed? Back in orbit, the battle raged on. Human ships fell like sparks, but each one left a mark. Alien interceptors exploded, scouts were destroyed. And for a moment, just a moment, the mighty fleet hesitated. From the underground base, the commander watched the feed, his face lit by the flames of the battle above. His voice was cold, but steady. Let them see us. Let them see we will not kneel. Let them see that even with broken weapons, humans fight. And across the stars, billions of alien eyes widened. Humanity had shown its second impossible act. Not just a railgun, not just a single strike, the will to rise into space itself and meet death without fear. The galaxy had thought Earth was weak. Now, it began to wonder what kind of species fights like this. The battle in orbit ended in fire and silence. Human ships, fragile and untested, had burned bright before falling into the darkness. Pieces of shattered rockets drifted across the void, glowing faintly against the stars. Many lives were lost. Yet even in defeat, humanity had achieved something greater than survival. They had forced the alien fleet to hesitate. In their bridges, alien commanders stood stiff, their eyes cold. As they watched the wreckage, to them, the fight had been simple, almost easy. Human ships were weak, their weapons crude, But it was not the strength that disturbed them. It was the will. The humans had dared to launch themselves into space with nothing but scraps and desperation. They had not hidden, they had not begged, they had attacked. To the aliens, it was madness. To the galaxy watching from afar, it was terrifying. Inside the underground base, the commander stood before his officers. The battle feed had ended hours ago, but the echoes of explosions still played in their minds. Many brave men and women would never return. Faces were missing from the room, chairs empty. Yet the soldiers who remained did not bow their heads in despair. They stood straighter, their eyes burned brighter. For they knew those sacrifices had carried a message across the stars. Humanity would never kneel. The commander's voice was steady as he spoke. We struck first with the railgun. We struck second by rising into the stars. Now the galaxy sees us. Now they fear us. But one officer raised a grim question. Sir, how long before the aliens strike back? Long before they crush us completely? The room fell silent. Everyone knew the truth. The railgun was still broken. Defenses were weak. Humanity had no real fleet. If the aliens chose, they could end everything in one day. The commander's face hardened. Then we must prepare for the third act. Something greater. Something that will not only make them fear us, but make them believe we are untouchable. Across the galaxy, alien councils erupted in debate. Some demanded immediate destruction of Earth, arguing that humans were too dangerous to live. Others urged caution, warning that humanity's unpredictability made them impossible to measure. If Earth truly had more railguns, if they had hidden weapons waiting to fire, then an attack could lead to disaster. A message from one alien empire echoed across the stars. Leave the humans alone.
Oh.
Do not awaken a monster you cannot kill. But others laughed. They are only primitives with toys. Crush them now, before they grow. The galaxy was divided. In that division, humanity found time. On Earth, factories roared day and night. Weapons were built faster than ever before. New rockets rolled out from hidden silos. Engineers worked like mad to repair the railgun, welding steel, feeding power cells, building stronger rails. Every scientist, every soldier, every worker carried the same thought. Humanity had been noticed by the galaxy, and now there was no turning back. In the shadows, strange reports began to surface. Civilians in rural towns whispered of lights in the sky. Farmers claimed to see tall, silver creatures moving in the fields. Soldiers sent on patrols vanished without a trace. The aliens had not attacked openly, but they had begun their silent war. Inside the base, Commander studied the reports with a cold expression. They are searching for our weakness, he said. They want to know if we can fire again. We must give them nothing but silence. And so, counter-operations began. Elite human teams were sent into the night, hunting alien spies, silencing strange signals. Some never returned. Others came back with blood on their armor and terror in their eyes. But the message was clear. If the aliens wanted answers, they would pay for them in blood. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the repaired railgun hummed to life for the first time since the Great Strike. Engineers cheered, tears streaming down their faces as the massive machine glowed with power. The commander stood at its base, his hand resting on the steel, his voice a whisper. We are not finished yet.
Ow.
But even as hope spread through the underground halls, the sky above Earth began to change. The alien fleet had moved closer again. Their ships glimmered like knives in the night. Their weapons pointed downward. People across the world looked up in silence, fear chilling their hearts. The aliens had watched long enough. They were done hesitating. The galaxy's predators were ready to strike. Inside the base, alarms screamed. Officers shouted reports. Enemy ships descending into low orbit, weapon systems charging. The commander stood tall, his voice cutting through the chaos. Hold the line. Do not fire until I give the order. For a moment, silence fell over the chamber. Every soldier waited, hearts pounding. The world itself seemed to pause, and then the commander's voice rang out, steady and unyielding. Let the galaxy see us again. Above the Earth, the alien fleet began its descent. The third act was about to begin. The sky above Earth turned red with fire. Alien ships broke formation and began their descent, cutting through the clouds like falling blades. The silence of waiting was over. The assault had begun. On the ground, alarms screamed in every city. Sirens howled across nations as civilians ran for shelters. Anti-air defenses roared to life, missiles launching into the dark, streaks of light, climbing toward the heavens. But everyone knew the truth, Earths. Normal weapons could do little against alien shields. Only one weapon mattered. Deep underground, the Railgun chamber shook with the thunder of distant strikes. Death reigned from the ceiling as the massive machine glowed with power. Engineers shouted reports, their voices trembling. Power stable. Rails aligned. The weapon is ready to fire. The commander stood at the center, calm as stone. His eyes locked on the massive screen that showed Earth's orbit. Alien ships were closing in, their weapons glowing. Any second, fire would rain down. Target locked, an officer said. His voice cracked under the weight of the moment. The commander raised his hand, then lowered it with finality. Fire! The Railgun screamed. Light brighter than the sun filled the chamber as the projectile launched upward with unimaginable speed. The Earth itself seemed to tremble as the weapon unleashed its fury. In orbit, one of the alien warships froze mid-descent. Its shields flared blue for a heartbeat, then shattered like glass. The projectile tore through its body, splitting the massive vessel in half. A second later, an explosion painted the sky with fire. Cheers erupted in the underground base. Soldiers cried out in victory, pounding their fists against steel.
Ow.
But the commander did not smile. His eyes remained fixed on the screen. For every ship destroyed, 10 more still approached. The alien fleet did not retreat this time. They had prepared for this moment. Their shields shifted, their formations changed, their weapons locked.
Owie.
Energy beams rained down toward Earth. Cities trembled. Entire blocks of buildings were swallowed by light. In orbit, human shuttles from Operation Stone Thrower still drifted. Some were damaged, some nearly powerless. Yet those who remained alive launched themselves into the fight again. They hurled improvised missiles, rammed alien ships, even detonated themselves to take the enemy down. Their sacrifice slowed the invaders, buying precious seconds. Back in the base, another officer shouted, "Reactor overheating. Cannot fire again yet. Cool it down." The commander snapped. "We'll lose the core if we push." "Then, lose it," the commander growled. "Better the core than the planet." Above, the alien fleet fired again. Bolts of energy carved through the skies, striking defenses, silencing cities. But humanity fought back with everything it had. Missiles filled the air. Fighter jets swarmed like angry hornets, even though most were torn apart in seconds. From mountains and deserts, hidden rail cannons, smaller versions of the great one-fired crude projectiles, strike breaking shields and leaving scars on alien hulls. The battle was chaos. Fire in the sky, screams on the ground, courage and terror mixing into one. In alien bridges, officers shouted in disbelief. How can they still resist? How can they fight with such madness? One alien commander slammed his clawed fist on the console. Destroy them. Erase them. No mercy. Yet in his voice, there was fear. For every human ship destroyed, more appeared. For every missile intercepted, another slipped through. Humanity was not strong. Humanity was not advanced. Humanity refused to stop. Inside the underground chamber, the railgun's lights turned red. Warnings screamed. The reactor was at its limit. Engineers begged the commander to shut it down. He shook his head. "We fire again." The soldiers stared at him. Everyone knew what that meant. If they fired, the reactor might explode. The entire base could be destroyed. But no one argued. They all understood. The countdown began again. 10, 9, 8. Sweat dripped from foreheads. Tears glimmered in eyes. 7, 6, 5. The earth shook with alien bombardment. 4, 3, 2, 1. The railgun fired. The shot ripped upward, blazing through the night, faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen. It slammed into another alien ship, tearing it apart in a blinding explosion. 2 kills. 2 impossible kills. The galaxy watched in silence.
Ow.
Billions of alien eyes stared at their screens, unable to believe what they saw. Humanity, a primitive world, had just destroyed not 1 but 2 shielded warships, but inside the base, chaos erupted. Alarms blared, red lights flashing. The reactor core cracked. Steam hissed from ruptured pipes. Engineers screamed as sparks rained down. The railgun had fired, but it had broken itself in the process. The commander stood still, watching the fire spread across the chamber. His voice was cold, almost calm. It doesn't matter. The galaxy has seen us again. Above Earth, the alien fleet hesitated. They had lost 2 ships. They had lost the illusion of superiority. Humanity could destroy 2. Perhaps they could destroy more. Perhaps there were dozens of railguns hidden across the planet, and so the fleet pulled back. Slowly, carefully, the alien ships rose higher into orbit once more, their weapons dimming.
Ow.
They did not retreat fully, but they no longer pressed the attack. They hovered in silence, their commanders arguing, their fear growing. On Earth, people emerged from shelters. Eyes lifted to the burning sky. They saw alien wreckage falling like stars, and for the first time, felt something stronger than fear. Hope. But inside the underground base, soldiers and engineers stared at the shattered railgun. Their greatest weapon was broken once more. Repairs would take weeks, if repairs were even possible. The commander turned to his officers, his eyes hard. We have bought time, nothing more. The aliens will return, stronger, smarter. We must be ready. And deep across the galaxy, empires whispered in the dark. Humanity had survived a full assault. Humanity had destroyed 2 warships. Humanity was no longer prey. But the question remained, what would they do next? The battlefield above Earth was quiet now. The burning wrecks of alien ships drifted like broken moons, their twisted hulls glowing against the stars. For a moment, the planet was safe. For a moment, humanity had done the impossible again. But in the underground base, no one celebrated. The railgun chamber was filled with smoke, sparks falling like fireflies. Engineers coughed through the haze, their faces blackened with soot. The weapon lay in silence, its rails cracked, its reactor damaged beyond repair. The great machine that had saved Earth twice was dead. The commander stood among the wreckage, his uniform scorched, his voice calm but heavy. We have bought time, he said, but nothing more. The enemy will return, and next time we may have nothing left. The officers bowed their heads. They knew the truth. Humanity had shown its strength, but strength alone would not be enough. The galaxy had seen them now, and the galaxy would decide their fate. Far across the stars, alien councils gathered in vast halls. Their voices echoed like thunder as they debated the question that now shook empires. What should be done with thee? Humans? Some spoke with fear. They are too dangerous. They must be destroyed before they grow stronger. Others spoke with awe. They destroyed 2 shielded warships. No young race has ever done this. They are not prey, they are predators. In the making, a few whispered something even more shocking. Perhaps they could be allies. Imagine such courage, such madness on our side. The galaxy was divided. Some wanted Earth erased. Some wanted Earth protected. Some simply wanted to watch and see how far humans could go before they burned themselves out. On Earth, the people waited in uneasy silence. News spread of the victories, and pride filled the hearts of billions. But along with pride came fear. They had survived 2 battles, but the war was not over. Families rebuilt homes destroyed by alien strikes. Cities buried their dead. And every night, people looked at the sky, wondering when the next fire would fall. In secret chambers, the commander met with the world's leaders. Their faces appeared on screens, tired and grim. They spoke in hushed voices. The weight of the elite galaxy pressing down on them. "We cannot repair the railgun in time," one leader admitted. "We cannot build another," said another. "Not with the resources we have left." The commander's eyes were sharp. "Then we must fight with what we have. Humanity's weapon is not steel or power, it is will. The galaxy has seen that now. We must make them believe our will is endless. Will alone would not protect the planet. Humanity needed something more, something beyond the railgun, something that could change the game again. And so, in hidden labs and secret hangars, work began. Engineers studied alien wreckage that had fallen to Earth. Scientists pulled apart shattered metal, glowing cores, fragments of strange shields. Slowly, piece by piece, humanity began to learn. It was dangerous. Alien tech was unstable, sometimes deadly. But humans were not afraid. Every risk, every explosion, every sacrifice brought them closer to something new. One night, as the commander walked through a secret hangar, he saw it. A human fighter jetry built with alien technology fused into its frame. Its wings shimmered faintly with stolen shielding. Its weapons hummed with strange power. It was not finished, but it was real. Humanity's first step into becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. The commander's lips curled into the faintest smile. "Good. Let them come again. We will show them that humans do not only fight with guns, we fight with fire. With steel, with stolen stars." Meanwhile, in alien space, a choice was being made. A great council of empires voted on Earth's fate. Many demanded destruction, others demanded caution. In the end, no agreement was reached. The galaxy was split. In that split, humanity survived. But whispers spread. Not all aliens wished to wait. Some spoke of sending assassins, hidden fleets, secret wars. Others spoke of sending envoys, of trying to contact the humans before it was too late, back on Earth. The commander received strange intelligence. A signal, weak, hidden, but real. It was not from the invaders above. It was from far away. Another alien voice, reaching out across the stars. The message was simple. "We have seen your fight. We've seen your will. Do not stop. You're not alone." The commander stared at the signal in silence. For the first time, he realized something greater was happening. Earth's fight was no longer just for Earth. The galaxy itself was watching, waiting, choosing sides. Humanity's war had become more than survival. It had become the spark of something larger. He turned to his officers, his eyes burning. "The galaxy believes we are a story that ends in fire. Let us prove them wrong. Let us show them that this is only the beginning." Outside, the alien fleet still hovered in the sky, silent and watchful. Earth had no railgun left, no great weapon to strike again. But deep in the shadows, humanity's spirit burned brighter than ever, and across the stars, empires whispered. One question louder than all others: was humanity the next prey to be crushed, or the next power to rise? The alien fleet had not left. For days, their ships lingered above Earth like a shadow that refused to move. They did not attack. They did not speak, only watched. On the ground, humanity waited in silence. Children slept in shelters. Soldiers stood ready at bunkers. Families held each other, listening for sirens that never came. The world was caught in a breath it could not release. Inside the underground base, the commander stared at the giant screens. Alien warships drifted across the sky, their weapons glowing faintly. At any moment, fire could rain down again. The railgun was silent, broken beyond repair. Humanity's great weapon was gone, but something else was ready. In secret hangars, far from the eyes of the fleet, human engineers had worked without rest. They had taken alien wreckage, torn apart the secrets inside, and rebuilt them with human hands. The result was not one railgun, but something smaller, faster, stranger, fighters. Human fighters armed with alien power. Shields stolen from wrecked ships, cannons fueled by strange glowing cores. They were untested. They were dangerous. But they were all humanity had left. The commander looked at his officers. "They believe we are finished," he said softly. "Let us prove them wrong one final time. The order was given. Deep in hidden tunnels, engines roared. One by one, the hybrid fighters rolled into launch chambers. Pilots climbed inside, their eyes steady, their hearts calm. They were ordinary, men and women, but tonight they carried the fire of a species. As the first fighter rose into the night sky, the alien fleet moved. Sensors flared. Weapons hummed. The galaxy leaned closer to watch. The aliens did not fire immediately. Instead, they waited, curious. What could humans possibly launch now? Their great railgun was gone, their fleet destroyed. To the aliens, the tiny fighters looked like toys. But then, the first fighter's shield flared bright, holding against the aim of an alien cannon. The second fired a beam of stolen energy, piercing through an enemy frigate's hull. The third danced through the void with speed no human craft had ever reached, and suddenly, the fleet above Earth was no longer calm. Alarms echoed across alien bridges. Commanders barked orders in panic. Ships turned, weapons charged, but the human fighters moved too fast, too unpredictably. They were not machines of war, they were living sparks of chaos. For every fighter destroyed, two more struck back. Alien ships that had once seemed untouchable now burned under the fire of hybrid weapons. The sky above Earth became a storm of light and shadow, and for the third time, the galaxy watched humanity do the impossible. In the command center, officers shouted with joy. "They're breaking formation," one cried. "The aliens are falling back." The commander's eyes never left the screen. His voice was steady, almost cold. "Good. Let them remember this night. Let them carry it back to their worlds." And the aliens did. When their fleet finally withdrew, leaving the broken remains of ships behind, they did not retreat because Earth had destroyed them. They retreated because Earth had become something else, something no empire could predict, no council could control, a species that learned in weeks what others learned in centuries, a species that fought even when broken, a species that turned defeat into fire. Across the galaxy, silence followed the battle. In halls of power, alien leaders whispered the same words again and again. The humans cannot be measured. The humans cannot be contained. Some called for peace, some called for alliances. Others, in fear, began to prepare for war. But all agreed on one truth. Humanity was no longer just another primitive world. Humanity was now a force the galaxy would never ignore. On Earth, the world rose from its ruins. Cities lit their streets again. Families walked under open skies. Soldiers returned home, weary but alive. And though the scars of battle would never fade, pride burned brighter than fear. In the underground base, the commander stood before his people. His uniform was torn, his face marked by exhaustion, but his voice carried the weight of history. "We were meant to die quietly," he said. "We were meant to bow and vanish, but we chose another path. Tonight, the galaxy knows us. Tonight, they fear us. And tomorrow, they will respect us." The soldiers rose to their feet, their cheers echoing through the halls like thunder. Far above, the stars shimmered. Somewhere out there, new enemies waited. Somewhere out there, new allies whispered. Humanity's fight was only beginning. But one truth was already carved into the bones of the universe. The first human railgun strike had not just been a weapon, it had been a signal, promise, and every alien who had watched in terror would remember it forever.